welcome to the podcast that buffs your Hearthstone game. This is Velen's Chosen.
Not all who wander are lost.
Greetings, Visionaries, and welcome to Velen's Chosen. Whether you're a competitive player, an arena specialist, a deck-building visionary, or just like having a bit of fun, we can help you buff your game and achieve your Hearthstone goals. Man, this week has been a doozy, but not for news. It's been a personal doozy, I wish there was some more Hearthstone stuff in terms of what we could talk about, but we do have some mildly interesting things to discuss. I'll tell my story in a minute, but first, I am Grant Gould, and joining me this evening is Eve Martin. How you doing tonight, Eve?
I'm a little sore from the tetanus shot that I got. You know what? It's already been a week, and my shoulder is still really stiff and sore.
Stiff and sore.
Stiff and sore.
Is it affecting speech?
That seems to be where it's heading. The infection is spreading. Oh, no.
So did you actually get tetanus, or did they just give it as a precautionary?
When I went in and told them about the dog bite and showed them the bite, he said that the penetration did warrant getting one if I hadn't had one in the last 10 years. And I was like, I think the last time I had a shot was when I was in school. So definitely more than 10 years ago.
Right.
So, but yeah, the cure ended up being more painful than the disease in this case. So that kind of sucks. But I'm going to go see the doctor and be like, is this normal? Is this supposed to happen?
Ick. Yeah. Well, are you healing up okay from the attack?
Yeah, like that's already fading. That like huge bruise that took over my whole leg is just like barely there. But yet the needle did more damage. So not that I'm telling people not to go get shots. I would never do that.
All the people who have deadly fear of needles are screaming like, yes, I told you, see, needles are worse than dog teeth. So.
My doctor was really good. Like, it was really fast, and it was over with. It was just like a tiny pinch, so he was one of the good ones. Like, when I was pregnant, I went through a whole bunch of needles that pretty much have, you have kids, your wife's been through it. And you just get some who can't find a vein.
Yep.
Who just have a real trouble doing the job. And I was very grateful that he was a professional.
Yeah, some people got the gift. I used to have to take allergy shots, and some people can just put a needle in you, and you don't even know they put a needle in you. They're like, all right, you're done. And you're like, did you do it? And they're like, yeah, no biggie. And I'm like, you are a god among men.
I had this one in school that said, okay, I'm going to count to 3, and then would always do it on the count of 2. Right.
You said you were going to go to 3. No, I didn't. I just said on the count of 3.
Right before you 10-step, they'd get you before you were quite ready for it. They thought they were hilarious. And the kids would always come out going, ah!
Yeah. It's. I used to be afraid of needles until I got allergy shots, and then it became so common that
You just get over it. That's the kind of thing I had with contacts. Like putting something directly on your eyeball was like, am I ever going to get used to it? Yeah, you do.
You do. It took me a while to get used to wearing it. I never had a problem putting it in. That was no big deal. But like getting used to like something on my eye, and that just felt weird. But
anyway, wow.
Anyways, so yeah, I mentioned that I had a crazy week this week. Not trying to be morbid anybody, but it definitely affected my week as I had really bad news this week, and my dad's okay, but I got one of those horrible phone calls where my father had a heart attack this week.
Oh my gosh.
So actually, he had 2 of them. Long story short, the stent didn't work. It got clotted with a blood clot after they put the stent in, and they had to take care of that. So the poor guy had to deal with 2 heart attacks within a 6-hour period.
Which you can laugh about now because he's okay.
Yeah, it's kind of like that nervous laughter of like, oh, thank God he didn't die. But it's one of those things like definitely got to reevaluate some priorities this week, and it was it's funny what like stops bugging you when you go through a pretty serious event. So I'm just thankful that he's still alive. And I know my wife and my kids are and stuff like that. And the funny thing is, I talked to him on the phone today, and he sounds fine. He's probably going to be one of those old men that's like, our heart attack's not going to stop me from doing what I want to do, and he's probably going to overdo it and get himself in trouble. And but the funny thing was, he was working out at a gym and came home and felt like indigestion. And my mom says, I don't know about that. And he felt worse and worse. And she says, you're going to the hospital, and the rest is history. So if you
really glad
haven't
he's
done it in a
okay.
while, give your loved ones a kiss and a hug. And because you never know. Could be the last time you get to do that. And for me, I live in Texas. My father and mother live in Michigan. So that was really extra frustrating to not be able to go up there and be with them during that time. But my mom has told me, do not come up. So apparently things must be on the mend pretty well. So
I don't know. Like, I would feel like just in case, I would just want to go and see him. Just to, yeah.
yeah, my folks are interesting people, and I love them dearly. But they have a different perspective on things sometimes. I told my mom, I said, if you need me to come up, I will. And she's like, nah, don't worry about it. I know you're busy, and it costs you about $1,000 in airfare. And I said, that's true, but I'd come up if you need me. So we'll see. I left the offer standing on the table, but we'll see about that. So, yeah. So losing at card games doesn't seem to bug you so much when you're dealing with real life stuff. So it's just interesting little perspectives that we get. So anyways, I guess we could kick it off a little bit. The news, I guess we're kind of centered around news, and we're going to also talk later in the show. We're going to talk about cards that are rotating out, like what you can play, what you can't play, unless you're a wild player, in which case you can play anything you want. And we'll go from there. So I guess I'll start the first one. We have a Brawliseum this week. What is it? The miniature, what did I call it?
Miniature warfare?
The Miniature Warfare Brawliseum. I don't know why I couldn't remember the name off the top of my head. Guess I could just read the show notes. Basically, you build a whole deck of cards, 30 deck cards, and all your creatures are I say creatures, that's my magic days. All your minions are 1/1s. They still get all their battle cries, all that stuff, and if you're not playing rogue, you're losing. Is basically the news on that one. Everybody basically figured out that the Shark Totem basically doubles all the combos and stuff, and you can do 6 stuff with Malagos. And Wicked Good posted on Twitter a 12-win run he had with a Malagos version that run Dark Peddler. Does anybody remember who Dark Peddler is? Does damage based on the amount of cards you played that turn, which seems dumb when it's a 6-cost minion. But now when it's a 1-cost minion, it seems pretty good.
I got hit with a Malagos one with Sinister Strike. Mm-hmm. And then another one which had like pulling Bone Mare back into their hand and casting it again multiple times to make a minion huge, and a bunch of stuff like that. So, yeah, got beat by multiple rogue decks pretty quick.
The only other deck that I saw that I liked that I thought could be viable if you drew well was like an Antonidas, Molt Reflection, basically infinite burn spells deck that a guy pulled off on me because I had a poor draw. But it seems like Rogue kind of just wins, especially because of the Shark Totem. It's just.
I also saw a decent Shaman with what is that double? The give all of your minions. I think it's +3 attack. Bloodlust. Wow, it's been
the one
such
for
a
like
long time.
you just build a bunch of weenie minions and just go face and win.
Yeah,
that could be good if you draw that spell. But that one problem with this Brawliseum is spells are normal cost. So if you're trying to run AOE or run expensive AOE or anything like that.
But like I got to, 8 mana multiple games with no problem because everyone is just like putting down little things to slowly get to the point where they've got everything in their hand to kill you in one turn. So I didn't think that was too much of a problem. Having like death rattles that like the violet worm that give you 7 1/1s that come out. Yeah.
Little tiny wormies.
I didn't really like the fact that death rattle minions that came out were also 1/1. But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if you notice, I noticed some of the animations sometimes, like when a minion would get summoned, it would flash its original health and then like change it real quick to 1/1. Did you notice that?
Yeah, because my hopes went sky high when my 8/8 death rattle like dragon came out, and I was like, and then it went down to a 1/1. I was like, oh no.
Well, I noticed with Grawl the Shark, the rogue legendary that came out just recently, it when it pulls stats, it pulls the original stats of a minion
instead of 1/1.
Instead of 1/1. So I was like, oh, why is this card good? It's just going to be like a 3/3 at best or a 2/2 at best or whatever the stats are. And it's like, no, it pulls the original stats, which I wondered why they kept it that way, but it's what it does, so it works.
Yeah, so. It's sort of one of those experimentation brawls where you kind of got to figure out how the code is written, only it's the heroic tavern brawl version. So you don't really want to go in there and experiment because you get one run and then you have to pay gold to do any more runs than that. So that to me was kind of upsetting because I had to kind of go in, unless I was going to do research ahead of time and read all the things people had already done and find out, is this going to work? Is this battle cry or is this death rattle going to work, and how's that going to turn out? Only there's the risk associated. You get the one free run, which you could just test everything out that way if you wanted to. But then after that, you have to pay to do successive runs. So I don't know. It does kind of suck a little when everybody figures out that one deck is OP and then everyone just plays that.
Well, yeah, that's kind of what I realized when I first logged in. I was like, okay, this is the kind of deck where there's going to be an OP deck. I'm just going to sit back for a couple days and let it kind of pan out and see what's good. And I went and found a rogue deck that was basically whatever people are generally playing. And I had super fun, and I went 3-0 with it. I'm like, oh yeah, 3-0, and then I lost 2, and I then I won 1, so I was at 4-2. I'm like, I probably can squeeze out a couple more wins out of this. And so the next time I pulled my phone out of my pocket to play a game, I looked at it, and all my rewards are on the screen. And I'm like, no, I pocket played a game without knowing it. Oh my gosh! So I just I lost it. So I'm like, okay, I can't live with that. And I've already saved up over 6,000 gold for the next expansion. So like, I can afford 150 to play this Tavern Brawl because I think it's super fun. Just
Your
the
opponent
novelty
must
of.
have been so happy that you were AFK.
Oh gosh, I'm sure they were, but it was. I didn't even know I was playing a game. So. So I'm playing another one. I'm 1-0 so far with it. So I'll see if I can get up. I'd like to go infinite with it and see if I can get all my gold back. But if I play my cards right, maybe I can get 12. We'll see. I've never gotten 12 in a Brawlicium before. I think the best I ever did was like 6.
Does it still have like a guaranteed, what is it, golden legendary or something, or is that different?
No, it's a possibility, but it doesn't guarantee a gold legendary. I think that was like a what did they call it? Was it Brawlicium? But there was like it
was heroic
Tavern Brawls, I think
Brawl.
what they call it.
Yeah.
It was heroic Tavern Brawl, and they were just like, if you won 12, you get like gold everything. Like you just get a gargantuan amount of stuff.
Yeah. It was like high risk, high reward.
But I think you had to pay 1,000 gold to do it, though.
Right. That's what it was. And then the pros all loved it because they're like, something new to do, and this is such a challenge, and it's kind of like a tournament, and yeah.
And they don't care about gold because they never spend it because they just buy all their cards, so it's...
And they probably just
the
have a
gold for
ton from playing the game.
Yeah. I mean, I hit 1,500 wins with my rogue this week, and I got to think, I'm like, it seems like 1,500 is a lot to me, and it probably is a lot for a lot of people. But like when you consider, like if you look at the average, like specialist, like the average specialist, like I don't know, Zetalot or Fibonacci, they have well over 20,000, possibly 30,000 wins on a single hero. And pros and people who are competing in tournaments and stuff like that probably have even more than that. People who have ground ladder, at least in the past, it's like, man, 1,500 seems like a lot, but when you start looking at like 2,000-3,000 per hero, it's like you're starting to talk like pro levels of play. Anyways, so I really like this Tavern Brawl. I very rarely do I spend gold on playing Tavern Brawl, but this one is just actually fun. And when it comes to Hearthstone, I tend to worry. I have to force myself to worry about having fun. It's like, oh hey, wait, I'm actually having fun. Okay, I need to invest in fun, because if it turns into try hard mode all the time, then that's not good for anybody. Anyway, what's up next?
We had 2 teaser videos featuring the fortune teller from Whispers. Wrath of the Whispers of the Old Gods expansion. So King Togwaggle is the only one we know for sure. When she flips over the first card, she says what's printed on it is her crystal ball. My eyes saw something completely different, but when she said crystal ball, I was like, oh yeah, that also looks like a crystal ball. I saw like an Ark of the Covenant. Like the golden thing that's underneath the ball supporting it looked like a golden chest to me anyway.
With seraphim on the top of it?
Something like that. Yeah, and then the second one, everyone was like, yeah, King Togwaggle. Like, obviously, there's candles, there's a crown, like everything just screamed King Togwaggle. So, and then the second teaser that came out, like, confirmed Togwaggle is one of the characters. And then now we've got a third card, which is supposedly a she, and the picture has a totem. So at first we were thinking Togwaggle is a previous card, or a previous at least character. So probably let's look through all the characters, what would match up. And I think that it was Andrew from the Happy Hearthstone where I first heard Hagatha. Is this going to be, like a kind of a gallery of rogues coming back and having some kind of storyline with them? But then someone pointed out that the totem does look like a Tauren totem. To me, I was first thinking trolls because of all the skulls, because they are the ones in World of Warcraft that are headhunters and stuff. Tauren don't really headhunt, but Magatha of the Grim Totem Tauren is a well-known character in World of Warcraft, although she hasn't been in Hearthstone before, and she is a shaman Tauren, and she's pretty dang evil. So, and she's a she. It's a possibility. Magatha.
It seems like it could be definitely. I mean, based on like what Hearthstone is missing, it wouldn't surprise me at all if they brought something like that into the game. Makes sense.
Yeah, Tauren hasn't been a really hugely visible race in Hearthstone up to this point. Like, can you think off the top of your head of something highly visible that's a Tauren card or a Tauren character?
Yeah, not many. I mean, you have Cairn and you have like ECT, or ETC. Sorry,
Elite
but
Tauren
those
Chieftain.
but those are cards that even really you don't think about much. There's the what is the Holy Light? What is the Paladin card that has a Tauren in the picture of it? But they're kind of shadowy background characters. They're not prominent at all.
Yeah, and in World of Warcraft, they're really neat. They got a lot of lore behind them, so it could be a possibility. I figured the odds were higher that it would be a character we've already seen since they're pulling Togwaggle out, but I guess we'll see. Just for those of you that don't know, Magatha, I talked about her back when we were talking about the orc storyline of Garrosh Hellscream.
Yeah, with the poisoning of the blade, right?
Right. When he has his duel with Cairn, she's one of the shamans, so she's supposed to be ceremonially blessing his blade, and then she poisons it so that he kills Cairn, which he said he had no knowledge of and didn't want to happen because it was a dishonorable death. But anyway, that's who she is, and that's where she comes from. So it'd be interesting. I'm on board with it.
Yeah.
I want more Tauren.
I was really confused by the trailer at all, because I thought to myself, what? We've seen this before. This looks like a Whispers of the Old Gods kind of thing. And I know it's pointing to something different, but the mode by which it was conveyed was I mean, it was so similar to the original Whispers trailer that I was confused, and I just decided not to think about it too much. I was like, I don't want to get salty by like feeling like they're repackaging stuff because I don't think that's what they would do.
Yeah,
they
especially
spend so
when
much
the
time in development and
biggest complaint thus far has been staleness of not wanting to play because it's not new and fresh and exciting to give us a trailer that's reusing old characters and like that's
an old motif, no less.
yeah. Like that was my feeling. I'm going to be honest with you, Blizzard. Like that was not a good play for me to get me excited
Yeah.
about a new expansion. But here's my question: are we all assuming this is about the expansion? And this is actually what are the 3 different expansions that are being used in Arena now?
Yeah, I know Whispers is one of them. Whispers, Goblins versus Gnomes. I don't remember if Kobolds and Catacombs was or not, but
Okay. Because I know before we've thought something is a big announcement for an expansion and then it wasn't at all. It was an announcement for something completely different and we all got hyped up. Do you remember that was like last year? And they were like, no, this was just an announcement about some kind of promotion. And it had nothing to do with the new expansion at all. So, but yeah, I got to be honest with you. I was like, this is not new and exciting and fresh. This is something we've seen before, characters we've seen before. Like, if you're talking about tying all of the lore together going forward, I was getting hyped for dragons.
yeah.
And I have Togwaggle and a fortune teller from Whispers of the Old Gods, okay? I'm not hyped. Anyway, I will wait and
Yeah.
I will see.
Yeah, I'm kind of just that trailer just made me not want to have to predict anything. Like, okay, I'm not gonna try and guess what it is. Although in our Discord I said that I think it's Defias robbing Dalaran, the Defias Brotherhood robbing Dalaran.
If it's a
So,
heist story.
it's a heist. It's a heist, and they're robbing stuff. That's what I want. I want to see Edwin Van Cleef as like a hero portrait and like a different kind of card doing different stuff. That's what I want to see.
See, that's
'Cause
interesting. But where are the dragons?
They rob dragons.
The dragon is guarding the vault. The dragon is
They have
hoarding
to-
the
they have-
gold.
Yeah, something like that. I don't know. Or they like steal dragons themselves and enslave them. I don't know.
Ooh, that's dark.
Hey.
Okay.
I just want it to be fun and interesting. That's all I care about.
Well, dragons do, in traditional lore guard gold, but the dragons
Yep.
in World of Warcraft are a little bit different.
Yeah, they're not gold hoarders quite the way like in like Tolkien or other things.
Yeah, right? Okay, so there was a Hearthstone AMA on Reddit, and I picked out some of the more interesting questions and answers because, they did the thing where they don't really answer questions and they don't really give that much information because that's the way they do. But we picked out a couple. All right, so want to know more about this smarter deck builder. We're all interested in how it's going to work and the
Yeah.
idea behind it and everything like that. So their answer was, our goal was to add a feature that made it easier for players to build competitive decks using the cards they already own. This will be a great help to people who don't own all the cards for a specific deck they'd like to play. It's also great if someone knows 5 or 10 cards they want to put into a deck, but they aren't sure what the rest of the deck should look like and want help with that. The way it works is we gather information from all the decks that are being played, and we see how successful each card is in these decks. We look closely at what cards you own and what cards you have already placed in the deck and find the best archetype that fits those 2 criteria. We then finish out the deck with the strongest cards that you own for that deck archetype. Sometimes a deck doesn't fit into one of the many archetypes, and in those cases we resort to a backup plan and give you the most powerful cards you own in a good mana curve. So from the cards that you put in a deck, and it's better if you can put in more, because that'll give them a better idea of what you're going for, they'll try and figure out whether it fits into like a mid-game, a control, something with a theme that's already out there, and then fill in the cards that'll do best for that kind of game plan. So it's almost kind of like, to me, this sounds like when people would say, I'm missing 3 cards and I want to know what to put in instead of those because I don't have those legendaries or those epics. So do you have a good alternative for those? And this is what they're trying to do for people.
That's cool. Yeah. Yeah, because I mean, it assumes that people don't know their whole collection, and I can tell you, like, it takes a while to learn your collection. And, you have to kind of play a long time. My kids, like I have to actually. I find myself thinking this way when I play around with my kids' accounts. It's like, okay, ooh, all right, I'm building a deck for them to play. It's like, geez, what do you even have? You know what I mean? And having something I could like cut that step down to say, well, what about this or what about that? You know, just reasonable suggestions could be just a nice time saver. So.
A good test is if we go in and we like straight up build a meta deck, only leave out all the epics and legendaries, and then find out what this AI puts in their place, what it chooses.
That'd be a nice experiment. That'd be cool.
Okay, so question. It's been almost 2 years since quests and over a year since legendary weapons. Is there a chance they can see a return similar to hero cards did with Hagatha? So people are always asking, are you going to do this again? Their answer is legendary weapons, legendary spells, hero cards, and quests all had a positive reaction, so we can certainly bring them back at the right time. When we do bring cards back, we want to make sure it's the right time and the story supports it like it did for Dr. Boom's hero card and Hagatha's hero card. So going forward, I predict they'll do it one at a time. Exactly. If there's like a really strong character in their new lore and they think it'll be cool for this character to have a new hero power and to go into the meta, it'll probably just be one. And I mean, Dr. Boom didn't destroy the meta, and Hagatha didn't destroy the meta.
No, really not. Really not.
Like, they saw play.
In fact, they saw play, and they weren't nearly as OP as, like, Blood Reaver Gul'dan or, or...
Rexxar.
Rexxar, jeez. Oh, gosh, Rexxar. Love Rexxar, hate Rexxar. Love him and hate him at the same time.
So, their idea of, like, giving everyone a legendary this and giving everyone a legendary that, I think was good for its first iteration. But then going forward, if they're going to have any more of those, I do think it's a good call to just give one, like, depending on whether it fits and whether it works. It's a lot less risky, let's say.
Definitely.
In the Year of the Dragon, are there any plans for more weapons for classes that don't traditionally get them? Mage, Warlock, Druid, Priest. Did the team like how the legendary weapons of Kobolds and Catacombs played out for these classes? We did like how weapons in Kobolds played out, though I think we'll wait a while before we revisit weapons in non-traditional classes. We think it's generally positive when classes have access to things other classes don't. It makes them feel unique. In rare cases, we break those rules because it makes thematic sense. In Kobolds, it made sense to us because it was the treasure and loot-themed expansion. If we get to another expansion that makes sense for weapons in non-traditional classes, we might revisit it. For now, you can expect weapon love for Hunter, Paladin, Warrior, Rogue, and occasionally Shaman. Not so much for Mage, Warlock, Priest, or Druid. Makes sense to me, like, in World of Warcraft, how those different classes behave.
Yeah. You're right, though. Their answers are somewhat vanilla. It's like you kind of half know the answer to the question before they state it.
Right? Like, it just makes sense already. What lessons do you feel Year of a Raven has taught you that you can take into the Year of the Dragon? One important lesson was that new expansions should have a big impact on the meta. We want to see the game continue to evolve over the year because that's what makes it fun. We helped this by changing some classic cards so that our new expansions will have a bigger impact, but we will continue pushing new cards that have a bigger impact. Another lesson we took away from Year of the Raven is that having something to do between expansion releases is important. Yes, please, yes.
Yes. I'm glad they learned these things. This is like, oh, good. They're getting the takeaways here. Got it.
We are hoping to address this in a variety of ways this year and in the future. One way we already mentioned is arena changing every 2 months. Another way is releasing the single-player adventure a month after the expansion. We're not done with just that, though.
Cool. So there's more.
Did we know that the adventure wasn't going to be available when the expansion dropped, and it was going to be a month before they released it?
They did say that for the upcoming expansion. So when they dropped all the news, they said, we're going to drop it later.
Right, because sometimes I did feel like when they were both dropped at the same time, it was kind of like, oh, there's so many things we could do.
Right. It was overkill.
Yeah.
No pun intended. Because,
But that's much smarter. Like, once the meta has kind of died down and things Oh, Grant, it took me a couple seconds for that to penetrate my head.
It's okay. It's late on a Friday night. It's all good.
Yeah, after the shutter walks have faded away into the night, then we hit the adventure mode.
Yeah, I like having something to do in the middle of the expansion. Like month in, it's like, oh, cool, adventure mode, something different. I'm one of those people for sure.
And when it's not around, there's not something to kind of distract you when you're like, let's play with all the cards. Let's make all the decks. It's like that's the focus for at least the first month. And then you can have something fun to do if you're like, I'm over this already. Which hopefully won't happen.
Yeah.
Is there any opportunity the Hearthstone devs could include stats, achievements, and auto squelch, that's always brought up, for devoted and long-term players? The devs officially actualized Borrow a Deck feature, bunches of card expansions, Miro hero greetings, changing Jaina's portrait. Most likely they can likewise achieve this. I love how people phrase their questions like, if you can handle this, then you should be able to handle this.
You did one thing, so you can do everything.
Right. Some of this has been discussed in other answers, but I want to mention squelch because it's something that different game designers around the world feel differently about. From a game design perspective, emotes help players feel they are playing a game against other human players, and squelch would hurt that. Emotes create emotional moments, whether it's a begrudging acknowledgement of a good play from your opponent or even a taunt here and there. That said, there are pros and cons, and it's an interesting topic of discussion. I would like to know from our listeners, I would really like to know, is there literally anybody who plays that has positive emotional reactions to your opponent using emotes with you? Do you leave it on and not auto squelch? And then when they emote and you emote, you have positive, happy feelings?
Because it would be, if you well play somebody and you actually thought they well played, very rarely you're like, man, wow, I didn't see that coming. That was an awesome play. Very rarely do I think that. It's like, man, I'm well playing you because I'm beating you.
See, here's the thing. Maybe I am losing out on those moments because I automatically squelch before the beginning of every game. So maybe I'm missing out on those, my opponent reaching out to me and saying, good game, wow, or whatever, in a non-rage-inducing way. But at the same time, I know myself and how I react to emotes, so I'm protecting myself from getting angry or frustrated or whatever in the middle of a game. So that's why I squelch. I don't know. I want to understand their point of view, but for me, the emotes are an incredibly negative thing.
I think it's more of a sociological argument that they're making and not a game design argument. You know what I mean? Like how people
If everyone
perceive...
auto-squelched, would you feel like the other person was like a robot?
I don't know. I don't think if any... I actually disagree with that they're saying that, because it's like you are saying you understand what millions of players feel and think, about that. It's kind of a... I don't know. I feel like that argument doesn't hold too much water. It's just kind of like, this is what we're going to say about it because we're going to make it about design and not about the issue. You know what I mean? So
I would like them to do a poll, honestly, because I think the amount of people that have a negative reaction to emotes would vastly outweigh the amount of people that are like, oh yeah, I send out a good game, and when I get one, it makes me happy. And we are never, ever going to mistake the person on the other side for a computer, because computers are not that smart. Every AI I've ever played against has not been near the level of another player on the other side of the board. I always know it's a person.
Yep.
Especially when they mess up.
Yep. You're like, hey.
Anyway, that's you and me just might be on the same page here, and we might need somebody with a totally different point of view to kind of go, this is how I feel about it. And I'd love for our listeners to reach out and tell us, if you feel some way different about the emotes, tell me, because I want to know. This is the way I react to them, and it's very negatively.
Yeah, I use them negatively and I react to them negatively. So
Yeah.
I especially like to say well playing, like I will be your death when they've spammed emotes the whole game and they thought they had it and I ended up swinging the game and winning. That's just, then I just can't hit the button fast enough because I'm cheap and spiteful.
I just loved being warrior because you can do I choose death when you kill yourself. It's like
That's pretty cool.
I'd rather not end this game at your hands, so I kill myself. It was really neat. Okay, are there any plans for new game modes like co-op? We have a bunch of plans for this year that aren't new game modes. So the answer no. Our focus right now is making sure existing game modes feel like they're fresh and exciting, like our recent update to Arena. The honest answer is we haven't figured out what the next Hearthstone game mode will be. We talked pretty in depth about common suggestions like 2 versus 2. We've even spent some time in design and engineering prototyping what that mode might translate to in Hearthstone. That said, it's not something we're working on today. We have some ambitious ideas for game modes in mind, but they're still very early on in the design process. As far as new stuff goes, in 2019, we're really focusing on improving some of our existing systems while also doing some unique events throughout the expansion timeline to shake up the meta in fun ways. We'll share more information about these events as they get closer to release. I kind of like this. I know it's a whole non-answer again, but it's like instead of distracting ourselves with more multiple modes, we want to fix what we have. We want to do what we have right first.
Yeah, I like that. I actually don't mind that answer so much because I'd rather have the game just be awesome rather than like a grab bag, you know? Because if you give people too many options to do, that's not always a good thing. Because a lot of stuff will still get overlooked, you know?
Well, from what I heard, and this seems to translate to other games that I play as well, the more modes you have, the worse matchmaking gets. Because in Destiny right now, we have Gambit, we have Crucible, we have Free Play, we have like the professional stuff, and depending on which one you jump into, you could be sitting there waiting for like 5-10 minutes, which is rare for a multiplayer game online.
Yeah.
Especially one that people just want to be able to pick up and jump into. So I really think one of their worries is wait time if they have multiple modes of play, if there's not enough people excited about it.
Yeah.
Like Tavern Brawl, I think one of the reasons it's a short duration is because people will focus on it when it's out for a certain amount of time, and then it'll ease off. But if it was active all the time, then I don't think the matchmaking would be that great. So that's something they've talked about in the past that they're worried about, is making sure that you can get matched up with another player within a reasonable amount of time.
Interesting. I hadn't really thought about that perspective, but it makes a lot of sense. Oh, man. There's a lot of here. Surprised.
So, Marin the Fox and Volcanosaur, are we going to get more of those? Yes. This time we will give away the card a week before the expansion comes out so you can use it over the pre-release weekend. So I don't know what it is, but we're going to get one of those free fun cards.
Well, I hope they're good cards, or the cards that do something and not just kind of like a common that nobody cares about. I hope they actually are mildly impactful. I liked it when those cards got dropped because everybody was playing with them and trying to make them good. And free stuff's always good. I mean, I'll never complain about free stuff.
Well,
even if I test
people
it.
were experimenting with it, but Marin the Fox was not really that good. Volcanosaur.
Volcanosaur saw a fair amount of play when it first got dropped. All the pros were trying to make it work, and it's an excellent arena card.
It's true. It is good in Arena.
Yeah. You can swing a game if you get the right picks on it.
I actually kind of wonder if it's going to be that golden card that we saw. The floating cape.
Oh, the cape? Oh, that'd be dope. A golden cape? I'm all down with it. Doctor Strange's cape works its way into Hearthstone.
Thank you. I was trying to remember his name, and you said it.
Oh, good. Doctor Strange.
Greetings from the custom Hearthstone side of the web. I must ask why you prefer to make mechanics that work for only one expansion when you could stretch the idea out to work all year in 3. I liked how Treant Druid was spread out and wouldn't have minded that for Freeze Shaman as an attempt. Yeah, there are sometimes when they have like a kind of deck that doesn't have all the bits that it needs to work and just kind of dies out.
Drop it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So their answer is, we do a mix of this. Sometimes a mechanic like Rush and Lifesteal and Discover is kept for years. Sometimes we do it for one expansion. Freeze is a good example because it isn't very fun to have your minions frozen a lot. So making that into a tier 1 deck is pretty dangerous.
Yep.
We have seen this in Mage already. Yaha!
Yeah.
That's infuriating.
Flashbacks.
Personally. Yes. When we have a build around like Treants or Elementals or Dragons, we can launch it and see how it goes, then slowly add cards to increase the power level over the next few years. Dragon Priest is a great example of this because it has been a reasonable deck for years and it changes each year as some of the strong cards leave and new strong cards show up. In the future, we want to have more decks that rely on cards in 2 different years so that when rotation happens, the deck changes, with some cards leaving and new cards entering the decks. I like that idea. I like the idea of you can still play a deck that you like, but it changes.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think this is what I think I always want Hearthstone to be. I've never quite thought about it this concisely, but I think you should be able to play an archetype or something like it with some freshness. Or, if it has to rotate out, that's fine too. But I do, people kind of get hung up on their preferences. Like I like playing Dragon Priest, and so that's what I want to play, even if it's bad. I want to play a Secret Hunter, so I'm going to play that even if it's bad. You know what I mean?
Evolve Shaman.
Evolve Shaman. I want to play Evolve Shaman even if it's bad. I want to be able to evolve my stuff.
Yes.
But I can see why they didn't want to have a free Shaman. It was kind of like, oh, whoops, that would have been a terrible idea. No, that's not going any further. You're right. You're right, everybody. We're just joking.
Dropped it like hotcakes.
Oof, yeah, no way. That wasn't gonna fly. It was
I've
like what
never
we call a
thought about it
non-starter.
before, but can you imagine just like having a deck you really like mid-range Hunter, and then a bunch of cards in it rotate out, but a bunch of new cards rotate in, and it's still kind of a mid-range Hunter. A mid-range Hunter. I need to drink a glass of water. But it's different. It feels different to play. Mm-hmm. But you don't have to like completely learn a new deck. You still kind of have that feeling of there's some cards in here that I know and I'm comfortable with and I like the way it plays, but still there's new cards in it and it's fresh that way. Would that be boring after a while? Because it sounds good to me.
That's a hard question because I could see how it would be boring too. The moment it becomes predictable is when it's boring, right? Familiar is different than predictable, right? So I think if it be familiar was like, oh, I like how this feels. Oh yeah, this jives well with how I like to play. Or these are cards. I like how these cards work because I like things that do X thing in the game. I could see that being fine. But the moment it feels like, oh, well, it's just the same old stock. Play this card, then play that card, and then do nothing for 4 turns, and then draw cards, and then if it seems predictable, that's when it's bad. I think. So.
Yeah, I think the cards coming in would have to be really different. Like if it was just a different version of this card that rotated out and another version of it rotated in, that would be boring. But if you were able to kind of put together something similar to your old deck, but it played in a different way. Like I like going back into Wild and playing Secret Paladin because it's familiar to me and I enjoy it. And so not something exactly like that, but just sort of played in a similar style, but with different cards and different effects. I don't know. I'm interested in that. I like their way of thinking.
Yep.
Could we get a better achievement system with more complicated, hard-to-do quests that perhaps reward cards, cosmetics that aren't otherwise obtainable? Oh, this is in so many different kinds of games. And it's awesome. Where you just go like, it's almost like the quests that you get every day, which is like play 25 pirates or something. But it would be in a list of achievements. And at the end, it would be like, this is your prize for getting it.
Well, how many achievements are in WoW? Like WoW has thousands of achievements, right?
So many.
Like just random things you can do, right?
Yes. And they give you achievement points. And that, like, you could just have your achievement points as a badge where people could see it, and that would almost be enough for people. But in World of Warcraft, different titles are associated with different achievements, and that
Right,
would be
right.
above your player name. So if it was like Lore Master Eve, and then underneath it, it was like Slayer of Murlocs.
They would
Oh
know
my
that you had
gosh.
done a certain achievement, right?
Add titles to Hearthstone.
That'd be a lot. I can tell you right now, the UI would be like, no, that would clutter up the mobile space. That's so bad.
Come on. Okay, fine. Be really hard, and then have a different surrounding for your hero portrait. Be like fishes. Like I'm sticking with the Murloc thing to just kind of go along with my idea, and be like, you get a different surrounding for your portrait, so they look at you and be like, wow, she's killed a lot of Murlocs.
I want a diamond portrait, like they do golden portraits now. I want diamond and platinum and, I don't know, arcane purple magic portrait and ice portrait. And I don't know, fire portrait. I want Jaina in sepia. That's what I want.
We
I
have
want
good
Valera-
ideas, Blizzard. Listen to us.
I want Valera a la like colorblind filter. I don't know.
Noir.
It's noir, right? Yeah. I mean, I don't care. I mean, I love the golden portraits, but and that they shimmer and do cool things. But I wonder, couldn't we do a little more? It's probably like a storage issue. It's probably. I know they've said in the past when it comes to achievements, that if there's achievement to be had, people feel that they have to get it, and if they can't get it, they feel bad.
Like, here's the thing. It depends on what the reward is. Because if it's gold or cards, then yes, there's definitely going to be people that believe that they have to do it. But if the rewards are completely cosmetic, then there's definitely a section of people that care nothing about that. And we've had a couple on our show that don't care about card backs, that don't care about little things that don't matter to like the technicality of winning or losing your game. If it doesn't add or take away from that, then they don't give a dang about it. So I think if it was something just going along with the idea of you have a certain amount of points that you can see, like my achievement point number is 2,000. And then after hitting a certain level, something cosmetic happens. There are people that wouldn't care and wouldn't do it. And I don't think they'd feel pressured to. But if you're having an off day and you don't have a goal to go towards, you're like, what am I trying to achieve? And I don't really care about going for legend because I'm at rank 5 and that's good enough for me. Oh, I could just try and do these random things that will get me some achievement points. That would motivate me. I'm unashamed of saying that. I do all the things in all the games.
The completionist in you says, yes, let's go.
Yep.
Game on.
I do that. Well, their answer was, we all like the idea of more achievements and tracking of progress. We were able to add a bunch of this in the new single-player adventure that is coming out after the first expansion of the year. We will let you unlock hero powers and starting decks through play, and we will track which hero powers and starting decks you have won with. Hopefully in the future we can do more of this. Each time we do a new feature like this, we learn more about it and expand on the technology as we go. So it's going to start out small, just tracking the things that you do in the adventure, how many times you won with a hero or a hero power or a deck. But as they figure out how that technology works and how people use it and get feedback, then they'll be able to build on that. So, baby steps.
Baby steps.
Now that I've said it, I want a title so bad.
I want a title too.
Even if it's Killer of Murlocs.
Even if. It feels bad, man. No title. I want a title. I don't have enough money to get a PhD. I need some kind of title, man.
And it shows how each person plays. Like in World of Warcraft, whatever title you had kind of showed what your interests were and like what kind of decks you play, what kind of cards you play. That would totally differentiate people. Like that's why they did it, to kind of be like, this is who I am. Which
identity is important in game. Some video games now have allowed us to gain identity through them, and Hearthstone makes it difficult to get unique identity. I mean, it's getting to the point where there's a lot of people now who have all 9 golden classes. There was once upon a time where it's like, whoa, you have all 9 golden classes. Now it's like, yeah, I did that like a year ago. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Oh, you hit legend. Wow. Yeah, I've hit legend. People used to hold certain things in more, I guess you could say, awe and reverence than they do now. And so I guess we're seeking new ways to stand out and be different amongst our peers.
Now
and
it's to the
amongst
point
people.
where I go up against an opponent and I'm like, he doesn't even have a golden hunter. This
I
guy's
say that
going to be
in
a
my head.
cakewalk.
I've had that thought. I've had those thoughts like, oh, non-golden class. Got it. He's toast,
He
or-
barely even plays Warlock. What's this guy doing?
Or what a hipster. Only uses the original like OG card back. It's like,
Yeah.
silly things like that.
Doesn't even know how to equip a new card back.
Shame on
Be a new
them.
player. Yeah.
This will be. He's gonna steamroll this dude, or dudette, or whoever, or dog. Maybe dogs can play Hearthstone now. I don't know.
Yeah, because there's some things in like Destiny that I play. People have titles now. It's a new thing they added. And some of them I'm like, I wouldn't even go for that one. I wouldn't even try to get that because I have no interest in it. But this one I
Right.
really like. So when you look at a player, it's like, oh, that's what they play. That's what they're into. And giving people more options to kind of express themselves through, like beyond the card back. I think the card back and the hero portrait is like the only 2 things we can use to kind of be like, I'm different. This is me.
Well, when people, I always laugh when people use the legend card back. I guess you could say I got peer pressured out of using it because when I first got it, I'm like, man, I'm gonna rock this thing. I earned it. I'm so happy to have it. And now it's like, yeah, I never wear it. I never put it on my card back because it's like, well, I don't want people to think I'm a noob. I don't want people to think that like I'm like
so proud. I hit legend.
I'm so proud I hit legend. I just want everybody to know it. I'm going to shout it from the rooftops.
Is that
Not that
not
that's a
weird?
bad thing, but like I guess I could say I'm kind of just salty enough to where it's like, yeah, it's cool. I hit legend. I'm glad. I will celebrate anybody who does it because of the achievement. But I'm just gonna remain anonymous now on the internet and not broadcast to everybody. I'm just gonna I'll just use the current card back or the Hakar card back or whatever. And
I've never equipped mine. Not a single time. Is that not weird? Like, that must be fascinating to a psychiatrist. Just be like, how the mind works.
Yeah, I'm sure. That's an interesting concept. Maybe we should. Okay, listeners, do you or do you not equip the legend card back if you have it? If you don't have it and you got it, how long would you equip it, and would you at all? If you do have it, why do you not equip it? or why not? There you go.
Or did you just equip it for like a good week and then be like, okay, I'm over it? And
I did it for a little while, and then I think I heard some peers in the podcasting space go like, maybe they disparaged it. I don't remember how it went, but like I felt like I got disparaged, and I'm like, oh, I don't equip it. I think
like
that's what
those
happened.
people who hit legend and then wear the legend card back now.
Yeah, because that's the only time they're gonna hit legend or something like really. I don't know.
Oh my gosh!
I don't know. What I'm
No! Don't let them steal your fun, Grant.
Nah, it's not that pretty. I am proud of that. I have it though. I worked really hard the first time I got it. I think
There's
I might
so
have
many
even gotten
times that I've heard it called the ugly orange gem. Mm-hmm. Like it's the ugliest card in Hearthstone.
I do like that the phrase "turning orange" is kind of like Hearthstone slang. It's like, hey, you turned orange. Good job. I like that.
We have our own insider speak. I like games that have that where you could talk to people and someone overhearing would not have any idea what you're talking about.
No clue.
It's like it makes you feel like you're part of a club and everybody inside gets it and everybody on the outside doesn't.
It's like being like in a secret organization.
Yeah. We have our own secret code phrases and
and business cards and everything.
I am a Hearthstone player.
Well, should we
reached
jump
legend.
into the other main portion of our show now?
Yes. So I needed to look these up, all the cards that we're losing coming April. Probably?
That actually matter.
Yeah, because
Yeah, it's probably going to be the first week of April sometime, yeah.
I mean, people have said it's not that confusing, but really every time it comes around to rotation, like that's all we get is what's rotating out? What cards are we losing? How long?
Yeah.
When it like It is. It is difficult to wrap your mind around, especially since like some of them feel like they haven't been here that long and they're going already. So what we're losing
Baku
is Year of the Mammoth. So Ungoro, Knights of the Frozen Throne, and Kobolds and Catacombs will be going away probably mid-April is my guess, because that's about the time it's been every
Yeah.
other year.
Yeah. And the broad sweep on that is no more quests, no more Death Knights,
No more
and
legendary
no more weapons. No more legendary weapons. So all of that stuff. So if you have a holy hatred for Twig of the World Tree, you don't have to worry about it anymore. If you, I was assuming you don't play Wild. Of course, all this entire talking point here is based on the
Wild
fact
doesn't
that you
exist.
don't play Wild, which you should, though. I mean, you should play Wild if you don't. You should give it a shot. It's actually a lot of good fun. Public service announcement over. Go on, Eve.
So that leaves us with Basic and Classic, of course, then Witchwood, the Boomstay Project, Rosticon's Rumble, and whatever we get in the Year of the Dragon. So this is, as always, the smallest our card collection's ever going to be in Standard.
Yes.
And that means that all cards that we get are going to have a huge impact. And we are losing a lot of very strong cards that I feel have been in the meta for a really long time.
Yes, they have. like staple cards that are in virtually every version of the archetypes, and even like the primary archetypes, like control archetypes and aggro archetypes.
Like Primordial Glyph.
Yep.
Like that
If you're
just
playing Mage,
became a
you run that
staple
card.
in all Mage decks, no matter what kind it was, pretty much.
Except for Big Mage. Big Mage didn't run it because they didn't want Dragonfire to pull that and do 2 damage to everything.
Right, and Aggro Odd Mage didn't have it either.
Yeah,
But-
well, just for obvious reasons.
Yes.
But it's been in a lot of decks that have been good enough to, I mean, any deck that doesn't have those particular conditions on it, it's such a good card that why would you not run it?
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Yeah.
Vile Spine Slayer is going. Like
That's
the
huge
big,
for Rogue.
yeah,
Huge for
the big.
Rogue.
I'm just going to remove your thing. The big. Everyone
Mm-hmm.
just cringes at turn 5 because they're like, "Is it going to come out and kill my thing that I don't want you to get rid of?" Mm-hmm. Vicious Fledgling, which don't see that much, but man, we have memories. We have lots and lots of memories of Vicious Fledgling. Mm-hmm. Aggro Druid for one.
Yeah. Oh, gosh. Oh, yeah. I remember that.
Flashbacks.
Yeah,
to
yeah.
who put
Decks
down
that
Vicious
are not
Fledgling
even around
first.
anymore. Yeah. I mean, Tar Creeper. Tar Creeper's in tons of decks.
It's like
Tons
the
of decks.
best taunt ever created.
At 3.
Yeah.
At 3. Yeah, for sure.
Radiant Elemental is no longer going to make priest spells stupidly cheap and infuriating and just cycling things off of Lyra, because both of them are going. Lyra and Radiant Elemental are going.
And Shadow Visions, which made Radiant Elemental even worse.
Yep.
Or better, but worse for the opponent.
Volcano, which was Shaman's get rid of everything card. Reset the board is going. Firefly, which people would just be like, I don't know what to put down for a 1-drop, so Fireflies, 2 Fireflies.
Which really puts a damper on a lot of elemental decks. Because Firefly was used as just a token a lot of times. Like, play the Firefly so that you can play Calamos next turn,
Yeah.
Enablers.
Glacial
Waste
Shard,
bombers.
which we didn't even think was going to see play, was in a ridiculous amount of decks.
Most notably Quest Rogue.
And also Shudderwalk.
Yep. Shadowwalk
And
ran that.
Druid. It was all over the map everywhere.
Glacial Shard was a great card. Again, an example of what freezing can do.
Right.
And why you don't want too much of that.
And where you could choose where the freezing goes to face or minions. Mm-hmm. Stonehill Defender, which, I mean, we just used it to get more Tar Creepers, but...
Use it to get Tareem. That's what you use Stonehill Defender for.
Right?
Odd Paladin, Stonehill Defender, into Tareem. Gotcha. GG.
All of the dumb Play Dead And what was the other one that triggered a death rattle of a friendly
The 3/3,
minion in Hunter?
Yeah, I can't remember his name off the top of my head. I know you're talking about. It's Terror Scale Stalker.
Yeah, I think that was
That
it.
one, yeah.
Yeah, those ones that trigger all the death rattles that infuriate you. Those are going.
Cube.
Yep. Cube is
Reverse
going.
Cube is gone.
Serenite Chain Gang.
Yeah,
How
that's
long
right.
can this go on?
Apparently, it's done going on.
Now it's done. Can't
2
go
years.
anymore.
It can go on for 2 years.
Now, here's something that I tweeted out right before we started the show. I want them to make Righteous Protector a basic card for Paladin, or at least a classic card for Paladin.
What's your reasoning?
Well, they got rid of Divine Favor, so they need to put another card in. And if you want to pick a card that is like the epitome of what Paladin is, Righteous Protector is that card.
I could go with that. I like Righteous Protector a lot. And you're right, it does really fit the flavor really well.
And it's not
a good card.
super strong. I mean, it can be frustrating,
Yeah.
but it's not ridiculously overpowered.
Yeah.
Spirit Lash is going, and Defile.
Both key removal spells. So it'll be interesting to see if they sub in what kind of. I mean, they made some weird statements about like we talked about it last week about they want to make sure that they keep the classes. I'm going to say more in their box on what they're supposed to be.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see if they give them any more removal.
I mean, I've heard a lot of arguments, and I've made some myself, about different classes having too many tools. Like one class should not have access to board removal and self-heal and card draw and ways to flood the board with minions and ways to buff up minions and, you know. So I like the fact that they're dialing some back and saying this needs to have a weakness along with all of its many strengths.
Yeah.
And, yeah, Warlock was getting up there. It was getting...
Yeah, Warlock was getting to where nothing. It was never weak for any reason. I think the Lich King is going to be sorely missed. The Lich King is just possibly one of the best, most flavorful cards ever.
Yep, I agree.
I mean, I think it's in my own thinking, it's probably top 10 cards ever in Hearthstone.
I would
Everybody
agree.
has it because why wouldn't you have the Lich King? You know, it's just such a good card. Does
It's
everything you want it to
solid.
do.
And it has the chance of giving you something cool off of the cards that he put into your hand. But I don't think anybody was like, oh, no, not the Lich King. You know, it wasn't even really too overpowered or too overstated or something that was going to, like, end the game. But yet
Right.
it was just, like, good. You just wanted to put it in your deck.
Yeah. Lich King could be included in almost any deck if it wasn't at a pure aggro deck. But even then, I'm sure people tried it.
All of the princes are going. Prince Keliseth, Prince Taldaram, Prince... whatever the third one was.
Let's see. Keliseth, Taldaram, and... Wow, why can't I remember it?
The other one, the third guy. All of the princes are going.
Yeah. Okay, the other prince. the middle kid prince that people forget about.
Bloodraiser. There's some more removal for Warrior that's going away and triggering, well, I mean, there isn't Enrage anymore.
Yeah. Rage is not a thing anymore. Hey, remember back in the day when we played in Rage cards?
Well, it was also a trigger for them to use their remove a minion that's damaged thing as well. So there's that. What else? Cobalt Scalebane. I don't think we understood how many decks that was going to go in.
Yeah, that was a good tempo card, tempo/aggro card. Man, that thing. I got to legend with that card, man.
Yeah.
That card's strong. What else? Let's see here.
Candle Shot,
Losing
which,
big time hunter cards.
yeah, so many. Like when I went through all of the lists of the cards that they were losing, I was like, sometimes Mage like literally got nothing in this expansion and whatever, that's kind of boring, move on to the next. And then Hunter was like, holy crap. Candle Shot,
Yeah.
Wandering Monster, Flanking Strike, the Spellstones, To My Side, Rock Delar.
That's a
Like,
lot. That's a lot of cards that see a lot of play in hunter decks.
Crackling Razor Maw.
Yeah.
And I mean, Deathstalker Rexar. So
Yeah. Yeah, Hunter's taken a major hit. I wonder what they'll do to kind of reshape it, because with losing that many cards, they're going to have to retool the whole class, you know.
Katharina Winter Wisp and what's the other one? Stitch Tracker is also going as well.
Stitch Tracker, yep.
So a ton. They're losing a ton. If you were worried about Hunter also being huge in the next meta, they'll have to get a lot of cards to make up for what they lost.
Yeah.
For sure. Explosive Runes is going for Mage. So you no longer have to worry about putting down your 1/1 and taking 5 damage to the face.
In standard, that is.
In standard. Call to Arms. Even though it's been nerfed, I mean, it was still doing some work.
Yeah, it still does work in Wild.
I'm not going to miss Duskbreaker.
I thought you liked Dragon Priest, though.
I haven't played it in a long time because it hasn't been viable. Like, the priest that's out there is Control and Wall Priest. Like, I can play it in Wild as the kind of deck that I want to play. But Duskbreaker was like just to get rid of minions. It wasn't really a heavily dragon deck. It was just like enough to trigger its own dragons.
Yeah, I can see that.
Duskbreaker is just removal on a stick.
Yeah, pretty much.
And 3 damage is a lot for a minion to do.
It really is.
Psychic Scream.
That's a big one. That's a big one.
Well, they were losing the Dragonfire potion. And that's when everybody was like, okay, what are they going to get now for removal?
And then the Psychic Scream was the answer, which I'm sure there'll be some other removal. They have Mass Hysteria now, but I don't think it's quite as good as Psychic Scream.
Remind me, what does Mass Hysteria do?
Mass Hysteria basically makes the whole board. It's like a brawl, except the minions punch each other in the face.
All right, they randomly attack another
Yeah.
minion. Okay, and what cost is that?
5. Costs 5.
Okay,
Yeah.
they might have to actually use that.
Ooh, Shaman's losing Healing Rain. Yes. Shaman can't come back from nothing anymore. Well, maybe they can. Maybe they'll give him some stuff. But
Well, here's the thing. In World of Warcraft, Shaman did have a decent amount of healing. So it's okay for them to make cards that, heal Shaman's face going forward without breaking their rules of like class identity. So Healing Rain's pretty OP, but I see cards moving forward that heal Shaman's face. Maybe not for 12,
yeah.
but yeah. Kobold Librarian, Void Lord is going the way of the dinosaur.
Aren't you excited?
So
It has to be ding dong, the witch is dead, the Void Lord's dead.
For an aggro player, having to put a non-aggro card for silence, 2 of them, into your deck just to deal with the Void Lord was just painful to me.
It is painful.
They'd just res it again with their TK and be like, here's another one.
Yep. Yep.
Dire
Void
Mole.
Caller in Wild makes that card awful. Ugh. Dire Mole. Yeah, there's another 1-drop that's stock.
Yeah, 1/3.
gonna-
I mean,
it's just
so
gonna
hard
vanish.
to remove.
It is hard to remove, especially
And
in
it's a
100 decks
beast.
when they can buff it.
Yep. It's beastly.
It's a beastly beast.
Fungal Mancer.
Ta-ta. No more buffing for you.
I think didn't we think when it first came out that it was too high of a cost?
Oh yeah, we were all like, card's trash. And then somebody put it in an aggro deck. It's like, no, dude, it's actually really good. It's
Who cares if it's a
it came out in
2/2?
tempo decks. Tempo decks started running it.
Yeah. I mean, Corridor Creeper was nerfed into the ground, but we will give you a farewell, Corridor Creeper, for Felware Salute. Felware.
Corridor Creeper's still good. Still in Wild. Still good.
Grand Archivist.
Good riddance.
All the memories. Arcane Tyrant. Zola the Gorgon. Void Ripper. Remember back in the days when Void Ripper would turn all your minions upside down and then you'd smash people's face with them?
I had such dreams for Void Ripper, and I think some people like Samurai Flea and Wicked Good made use of some of those dreams. But I just had dreams of like Druid decks putting the what's the card? I can't remember it. All the scarabs down and like flipping them and then going to face for like, what's 5 times 35 damage. I had all those dreams and no, it just never quite worked out. I was all hot to trot on that card.
In Wild, all your dreams come true, Grant.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, Spreading Plague. That's the card. Spreading Plague. That's going away too.
Okay, so here's the thing. As I was going through all of the different cards, I was going through all of the different cards in my personal collection that I was going to be losing to Wild. So, Grant, none of these cards are Druid cards.
I'd say you Ultimate Infestation's going away.
You're going to have to tell
So-
the listeners what Druid cards we're leaving.
Oh gosh, off the top of my head, quite a few. Oh gosh, I can't do it without my collection, I don't think. But
Let's
see,
see.
just so you
Togwaggle
know,
Druid. Let me take a look.
Togwaggle Druids, bye. You'll still have Azalina though, so you can. Yeah, I'll just zoom in here.
Branching Paths.
Yeah, Branching
Ironwood
Paths,
Golem.
That's a big one, and I think
Oaken Summons.
Oaken Summons. Yep.
Malfurion.
Yeah, the Death Knights. Yeah, the Death
King
Knights are-
Togwaggle and Ultimate Infestation. Yeah. So
And Ultimate. You know what's interesting is Ultimate Infestation has never seen a nerf. I was for sure that card would see a nerf, and it never has. It blows my mind.
well, here's the thing. They have always wanted to do, if possible, mana changes to make things more expensive. And you can't make Ultimate Infestation more expensive. It's already 10 mana.
Yep.
Because they don't want to change the heart of the card or, nerf things into oblivion. So it was a lot easier to change other things in that particular deck that might have been more of a problem than Ultimate Infestation.
Yeah. Oh, well, Greedy Sprite's getting rotated out, too. That's not really a Druid card, but you only really see it in Druid decks. Is it a Druid card? No, it's not a Druid card.
Greedy
is it?
Sprite?
That's not. That's a neutral, right?
I don't know because I don't have Druid cards. Let me see. Greedy
The Spellstone is rotating.
Sprite.
Of course.
It is a Druid card, yes.
So it is a Druid card, so that card's rotating out.
Yep.
So there's some more ramp that they're losing. So Nourish has been kind of nerfed to where it may not be used as ramp. Wild Growth has been nerfed, so I'm interested to see what they'll do for a ramp if they want to keep that kind of spirit for Druid. But
Yeah, so a thank you to shout out to Blister Guy from Walk to Work. He made a really great visual layout of the cards rotating to Mammoth and then kind of like all of the decks that are the top tier decks in Standard right now. I looked up right before we started recording and Hearthstone top deck says Odd Paladin, Mid-Range Hunter, Wall Priest, Even Paladin, Control Priest, and Aggro Odd Mage. And just kind of looking at his infographic here, those decks are losing a lot of cards, a lot of key cards that are kind of central to the way that they work and how they do things. So,
namely Baku and Gen.
yeah, changing their hero power so that it's OP is part of it. But Wall Priest, which is something that I hear a lot of the people in our Discord, hating it,
Yeah.
is losing the Spellstone,
Which is huge for that deck. That's a big deal.
Master Oakheart,
Yep. And Master Oakheart was the other one I was going to suggest.
Eternal Servitude.
Yep.
Yeah.
And what's
This-
the
The Spellstone?
what's the one that summons a minion at it? Not the Spellstone, the card that summon. It's a 6-drop spell that pulls a minion out of your deck and makes it a 5/5. I can't remember what it's called off the top of my head. I'm really bad with card names tonight for some reason.
Oh, the deck I'm looking at doesn't have that in it.
Shadow Essence? Is that what it is?
Yeah, it's
Essence?
we're losing that card as well. But
Yeah.
the Wall Priest deck that I'm looking at doesn't actually have that one in it. But
There were
yeah, we're
early
losing
editions
as well.
that did run it, but they took it out because it's like you don't want a 5/5. It doesn't do much. Anyways, well, we've been at about an hour already, aren't we, Eve? Yeah, an hour and change.
Yeah, so like just to tie up, all of the decks that you're seeing now are going to change. So don't worry. Like if you're worried
Yeah.
about the meta being stale, it can't stay the same because all
It
of the decks
can't.
that are in the meta right now are losing all of their key to the deck working cards.
It's going to be a brave new world, and that is exciting.
A little bit
Resub,
scary
guys.
too.
Download the game again. I welcome it with open arms. Our new Hearthstone overlords. Bring it on. I'm excited.
I
Cool.
think that when Witchwood first launched, the fact that I was taking part in a tournament which needed you to make decks from all of the classes and then play them, I gotta be honest, it sort of ruined my experience of that first meta because I was so stressed about finding viable decks and learning them and playing them in the tournament that it wasn't just go in, see the cards, have fun with them. It was like super try-hard mode. So that's what I want to do when this new expansion launches, is just kind of look at all the cards and kind of ignore the internet for a little bit and not immediately net deck and sort of go, what do I see and what is fun, and play with it a bit before I start paying attention to what other people are doing. And that might be fun for you. Like, try that out and experience the meta in that way, where you don't immediately go, what's the best thing that someone's figured out already? But just kind of look at the cards and see what is fun to you. Because I sometimes think that the pool of people who make decks is too small.
Oh, it really is. It really is.
And everybody just kind of assumes they've figured everything out. But your idea could be the new cool deck, and you could be the one who makes it.
And then you could be famous and make millions of dollars. Not really, but you can be Hearthstone famous, which is exactly like not being famous at all.
We will think you're famous. We will play your deck, and we will like pump you out on the show and be like, this is an amazing new deck I'm playing made by your name here.
We will laud you over the podcast airwaves.
A brave person.
I will say the most fun I've ever had in Hearthstone was when I just decided to just play the cards and just enjoy the cards without worrying about who thought what deck was best, and the novelty of getting on the ladder and just playing against somebody with something you don't know, and you're like, wow, that was a really cool idea. I wonder if I can build something like that, or I wonder if I can figure out what that deck was, and not using the internet and just try to use your brain, and just exploring and stuff like that. The exploratory concept nature of Hearthstone can be really enjoyable.
And here's the fun thing about it, is that in other expansions, there have been those people that we all love to hate on who are playing the meta deck while everyone else is trying out the fun new cards.
Can't do it this expansion.
Exactly.
Genius. That's actually going to be awesome. Nobody playing hate decks on the ladder just because they don't want to lose.
It used to be Face Hunter. It was like there would be these people like riding all the way to Legend because people were all trying out fun new decks, and they'd be like, I'm just going to run all the way through. Or like Pirate Warrior.
Yeah, Pirate Warrior would do that a lot. I saw a lot of Odd Rogue this last expansion when it dropped. When Rastakhan dropped, it was just Odd Rogue and Odd Paladin all over the place, even though. So
we're all going to be at a level playing field. Everyone's going to be figuring things out at the same time. It's going to be glorious. You're going to have just as much chance as finding the next new thing as anybody else. It's exciting.
I will say that you'll probably see a lot of Zoo. You'll see a rendition of a Zoo early, and you'll probably see a fair amount of aggro early, because those will do well if you know how to pilot aggro decks. Because aggro isn't necessarily about, it's more of like an archetype when you just play the certain class's version of it. I can see people figuring that out faster.
Aggro does well in the first couple of weeks of a new expansion all the time, because people haven't figured out all the answers that they have access to yet. They're just still trying to figure like synergies and things like that. So aggro just kind of goes, you didn't figure it out fast enough, you're already dead. But I'm not going to do that. I'm going to look for the fun decks. I'm not just going to go for the fast, kill you fast decks. I'm going to look for all of the fun and synergies, anything that comes out that has like a tribe, like Mech
tribal synergies,
or Murloc, or those.
The
are
lost
fun.
episode that we had with Duin on is ringing into my ears, where Duin was talking about like, when you build a deck, just start with like something obvious, and then just go from there.
Yeah, usually one or two cards that are like, I want the whole thing to revolve around this. And everything else just kind of works in tandem with it. So I'm excited. Why can't it be here already? We're just
I
at the
know, me
beginning of
too.
March. It's going to be such a long time. But we have card reveals coming up. So that's to look forward to.
That's going to be some dense shows. So, all right, Eve, where can people find you if they want to get in touch with you?
They can find me on
Congrats,
Twitter. Give me your ideas of what titles we could get in Hearthstone, and I will pass them on to the people who definitely listen to this show.
Who would
yeah.
those be?
I know they're listening. You Hearthstone devs who listen to Valen's Chosen, give us titles, and I'll let you know what our listeners think would be awesome titles. Not Murloc Killer, probably.
Annoying,
Yeah.
pesky podcasters is not a title we want.
Ooh. Lore Master Eve on Twitter, and my BattleNet is Lore Master Eve 1974.
Cool. And if you want to find me on Twitter at WatchmanHS, in game, Watchman #1140. Feel free to spectate. Love it. Love talking to people. If you want to ask me a question, I hope I can win you your pack because that's when most people spectate. I hope I can get you your free pack. Although I think I have a high rate of people pulling legendaries out of the packs that they win off games that they watch that I play. Just saying.
Nice.
If you want to find anything and all links on our, go to our website at velenschosen.com. It'll take you anywhere you need to go. We are now on Spotify and we are now on Podbean. If you like to get your podcast through those ways.
Yeah,
So,
did we add those links to the webpage?
I don't know. Need to look at that. I don't know if I did or not. I can't remember because this last week, like I said, has been hectic. Last weekend, I had the show edited like the day after we recorded, and then all of a sudden, the way our RSS feed with our website interacted with each other was like, no, we're not going to send your show to iTunes, and so we had to kind of like port it over. And the same thing happened to our buddy Rob, our former co-host here, and I'm like glad wouldn't post either. Like he was having the same. We were pulling our hair out together trying to get to the bottom of it. So, big shout out to Wicked Good and Ridiculous Hat for their help in these arenas because they kind of helped us think through our problem solving skills and point us in the right direction, and we got it working. So,
And we're like on Spotify now, so that's
yeah. And there have been people over the years to say, "Hey, are you guys on Spotify?" And we're like, "Oh no, sorry." But now we are, and we're on Podbean, which is another way of getting your podcast media. So hopefully we'll grow our audience a little bit. It could be a mixed. It could have been a blessing in disguise to have that problem. So we'll see.
And we also actually streamed this episode on Twitch.
Yes, we did. So we're gonna get our streaming chops.
Thank you,
sharpened
Samurai
here as we
Flea,
go.
for showing up and giving a wave.
Pikachu wave. All right, Eve, sign us out.
Not all who wander are lost. Thanks for listening.
Take care, everybody.
I foresaw this. Did I miss it?